Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be talking about the Eurozone slipping into a recession. And this article is by CNN. Okay, so the title is Eurozone slips into recession as revised data shows 2 quarters of falling output. So that used to be the definition in America of what a recession is, but they changed the definition so that they could say that they weren't in a recession for the past couple years. And the recession in America is obviously going to be getting worse, given a variety of factors that we've talked about in other videos. So this article is by, all right, so I can quickly see that this is going to be a trend on my channel. It's going to be a meme that I cannot pronounce anyone's name. So we're going to try it anyways, though, just for the funny haha potential. The author is Olesia Dmitrikova. Did I get that right? Someone in the comment section, tell me how to pronounce that. All right. So the 20 countries that use the euro fell into a mild recession around the turn of the year as inflation discouraged consumer spending and government tightened the purse strings. So pretty funny. Russia's doing so well right now. They're thriving, and they're thriving while under Western and European Union sanctions. And the countries that are doing the sanctions, the West, are failing. Their leaders are resigning, getting kicked out of office. Their people are suffering under the trade sanctions that they've implemented. And so you have to ask yourselves, who is this actually benefiting? It's not benefiting the puppets in charge that are currently losing their positions all across the West. And it's not benefiting the average person who is suffering from the fact that, I think it was in America, that bread prices from last year to this year on year, went up like, I think it was 11% or 15% or something ridiculous. So we're going to see actual bread lines in America, or potentially we could see actual bread lines in America because prices are rising so much year over year. Your money is becoming increasingly worthless. And so if it's not benefiting the average person, it's not benefiting the stooges in charge, who's it actually benefiting? Who are these sanctions actually benefiting? Who's the Ukrainian war actually benefiting? And it has to be big business. It has to be the big banks. And so they're making, you're seeing this with the 1% or 0.01%, et cetera, that the people benefiting most from the current state of affairs are the super rich. And that can tell you who is actually in charge of the country. It's the people who are benefiting the most from this suffering, from the miserable situation that every country in the West is in. I can't think of a single country that's actually been successful in recent years. In the first 3 months of the year, economic output in the Eurozone dropped 0.1% compared with the previous quarter, according to revised official data published Thursday. In the fourth quarter of 2022, output also dipped 0.1%, as the figure showed. A recession is typically defined as 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction. And boy, that propaganda in the West about it not being 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction being a recession, that was, I don't want to say shocking to me, but it was just so weird that so many people bought into that. Like, it sounds so 1984 Orwellian that people just, like, the government just decided to change the definition, and everyone was just like, yeah, this new definition is what a recession has always been. Just the fact that they can just change what words mean, and the majority of people seem to buy into it. Obviously, if you're watching this channel and you've stuck with me this long, you're not buying into the propaganda. You're not buying into the indoctrination. And so you understand what a recession is. It doesn't change year to year. You can't just change the definition to change what a recession is. And people feel that recession, right? The broader European economy, however, avoided the downturn. Across the European Union, gross domestic product picked up by 0.1% in the first quarter after falling 0.2% late last year. Commenting on the Eurozone data, Andrew Kenningham, chief Europe economist at Capital Economics, said consumption by household had been hit hard by high prices and rising interest rates. Okay, obvious. But it could have been worse given the magnitude of the shock to incomes once they are adjusted for inflation. Okay. According to a tweet by Frederick Ducrozet, head of macroeconomic research at Pictet Wealth Management, inflation in the Eurozone jumped last year when Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine sent energy prices soaring. Well, what actually sent energy prices soaring? It wasn't the Ukraine invasion. It was actually the sanctions that sent it primarily soaring. Russia was happy to continue trading with the West, but the West stole from Russia. They stole assets that were held in the West from Russia. And so this inflation that was caused in the Eurozone, that is an entirely Western-made construct, but yet they say here, they try to convince you that it's actually Russia's fault that this is occurring. Although easing, it may remain high with overall consumer prices in May 6.1% higher than a year ago. Wow. So there wasn't really growth in the economy. There was just inflation that managed to outpace the suffering of the people. A sharp fall in government spending was another key driver in the decline in GDP earlier this year. Both the Eurozone and the whole of the EU are now lagging the US economy, which I've talked about this in other videos, but it used to be the case that the European Union was larger than America. And since the financial crisis of 2008, they've become smaller than America. They've become less powerful than America, which is a huge embarrassment, but it also goes to show you that America doesn't really take care of its allies. It doesn't take care of its puppet governments. If America is suffering consequences and there's other countries that are downstream of America, America will just push those consequences downstream of itself. And so they will make sure that they don't have to suffer the consequences, and their puppets, their poor, subservient nations are the ones that actually have to suffer the consequences. So Eurozone lagging the US economy, GDP across the Atlantic rose 0.3% in the first quarter after a 0.6% increase late last year, according to the data from the OECD. On an annualized basis, favored in the United States, its economy grew 1.3% in the January-March period compared to previous quarters. I remember seeing that whenever China has like 6.7% growth, they say, oh no, China's doomed, China's collapsing. And when United States has like 1.3% growth, it's like, oh, United States is bouncing back. They're doing so well now. It's like the propaganda apparatus in the West is like so hysterical at this point in terms of lying to you, in terms of giving you completely different information or completely different ways of structuring information when talking about China versus talking about the West. It's hilarious. And more people are catching on to this fact that the West is just lying to you, that the propaganda in the West is on another level. It's so subtle in some cases, but in modern times, it's harder and harder for them to be subtle about it because the West is just declining so rapidly. It's hard to like paint over that. It's hard to use subtle manipulations in order to make things look good. You have to be overt. You have to just completely lie to people. And people are recognizing that. Earlier, officials estimated the Eurozone's economic output pointed to a slight increase in the first quarter. Thursday's downward revision was mainly due to downgrades for Germany, Europe's biggest economy, and Ireland, noted Klaus Vistisen, chief Eurozone economist at Pantheon Macroeconomics. So Germany declining is a huge embarrassment. The United States is essentially deindustrializing Germany because Germany was going to benefit from cheap Russian energy. And so between making sure that Germany can't collaborate with Russia and they have to help enforce the sanctions, typically through the Green Party, which is obviously a puppet of America at this point, and between the economic terrorism that the United States is the likely culprit of when it comes to the Nord Stream bombings, Nord Stream pipeline bombings. It's just Germany is not going to be allowed to be successful from here on out because the United States has to cannibalize the German economy, German industry, in order to prop itself up for a few more years. And that's all America is doing, is any economy is downstream of the United States is cannibalizing those in order to prop up its own economy. German GDP fell 0.3% in the first 3 months of 2023, compared with an earlier estimate of zero growth, as last year's energy price shocks took its toll on consumer spending. The evidence of a recession in the Eurozone will complicate the task of the European Central Bank when it meets next week to set interest rates. Inflation is still more than 3 times the bank's target, embarrassing, huge embarrassment, but raising rates further to cool it could hurt the economy. We think GDP is likely to contract again in the second quarter as the effects of monetary policy tightening continue to feed through. Kenningham at Capital Economics said in a research note. Wow, this is just, it's just so embarrassing for the West that this is occurring, just across the board. And I've talked about this in other videos as well, but Russia and China just have the entire Western world on the back foot. And people like Kissinger, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but they knew that you never let countries like Russia and China collaborate. Just like you never let countries like Russia and Germany collaborate. Because when you mix a natural resources powerhouse with a manufacturing powerhouse, Russia, the natural resource powerhouse, and the manufacturing powerhouses being either Germany or China in this instance, when you mix those two, they become a near unstoppable duo. And they become the only potential kryptonite to a United States dominated world. And so that's what I'll leave you with today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this segment, please like the video. And if you want to hear more from me, please subscribe to our channel. I love making this content. It's so much fun for me. And I would love for you to watch more of my content. It's actually very exciting. I have various pieces of data that I can look at and review. And we have now hundreds of returning viewers for this channel. So we're building that thriving base. And once we reach maybe 1,000 returning viewers, I'm going to probably create a Discord channel, a Facebook group, various ways that we can interact and collaborate further so I can get your ideas about future videos. So please subscribe to our channel, be one of those returning viewers. It's exciting to have that core base where we can all interact and engage and discuss ideas that are really not allowed in contemporary Western society. So that's what I'm trying to build here, and I hope you'll build it with me. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment, question, concern, critique down in the comment section. I love reading them. I read all of them. I'm trying to get back to as many as I can, but my comment sections have been blowing up recently. But I do read them, even if I don't always have a chance to get back to you. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.